My name is Nora. 2 weeks ago, my ex-husband Mark passed away suddenly from a cardiac arrest. Despite our divorce 2 years ago, we had remained close friends and were temporarily sharing a house due to complex financial reasons. I held his hand as the paramedics tried and failed to revive him. I was completely heartbroken, crushed by grief, and ready to mourn the man I believed was my soulmate. But then, I turned on his phone. Mark and I were married for 8 years before we decided to separate amicably. There were no loud fights or dramatic scandals, we simply grew apart, or so I thought. Even after the divorce, he always called me his rock, his true best friend, and the only woman who ever truly understood him. I genuinely believed that despite our failed marriage, we held a rare, unbreakable bond built on complete honesty and mutual respect. Because I was the one managing his daily routine, I was handed his personal cell phone by the authorities to inform his family and handle his bank accounts. Mark's family had always treated me like an outsider, but his 24-year-old daughter from a previous relationship, Chloe, stayed by my side. I unlocked his phone, intending to find contact numbers for his doctors and lawyers. Instead, my thumb accidentally tapped on his archived messages. What I found inside that phone shattered my world into a million sharp pieces. Mark wasn't just living a private life, he was operating a massive, calculated network of deception. For the last 3 years, including the entire duration of our shared living arrangement, he had been dating 5 different women simultaneously. Every single one of them believed they were his exclusive, official girlfriend, and every single one was being utterly lied to. As I scrolled through hundreds of texts, my hands began to tremble violently. He used the exact same romantic phrases with all of them. He told each woman that she was his soulmate, that his ex-wife was just a roommate he pitied, and that he was planning a grand future with them. He had created detailed spreadsheets on his phone to track their birthdays, favorite flowers, and the excuses he used when he needed to ghost them for days. The sheer coldness of his manipulation made my stomach turn. When he was supposedly away on business trips, he was actually spending weekends at beach resorts with different women. He borrowed money from 2 of them, claiming he needed it for urgent medical bills, while spending it on lavish dinners with a 3rd. He had turned emotional cruelty into an absolute science, leaving a trail of broken hearts everywhere he went. Within hours of his passing, his phone began ringing non-stop. Notifications flooded the screen with frantic texts from women asking why he hadn't responded to their goodnight messages. I sat alone in the dark living room, reading messages from weeping women who were genuinely terrified that something terrible had happened to their devoted boyfriend. The grief I felt for my late ex-husband instantly turned into pure, fiery rage. To make matters infinitely worse, Mark's hostile family descended upon the house like vultures. His mother and sisters immediately began packing up his expensive watches, designer clothes, and electronics, treating me like a hired maid. They openly insulted me in front of Chloe, telling me that I had no right to grieve because I was just the failed ex-wife. They demanded that I organize the entire memorial service and write his eulogy. His sister sneered at me and said, "You owe Mark this much, Nora. The least you can do is stand up at the funeral and tell everyone what a saintly, perfect man he was." They wanted a glowing, polished speech to protect the family image. I looked at his sister, looked down at the glowing phone screen in my hand filled with dark secrets, and made a silent, terrifying decision. I smiled calmly and said, "I will give the speech." Instead of blocking the women on his phone, I did something completely unexpected. I individually messaged all 5 of his secret girlfriends from Mark's number. I gently informed them of his sudden death and invited them to attend the private memorial service. I told them that Mark had left a special, personal message for them in his official eulogy and that their presence was essential to honoring his memory. None of the women knew about each other, and none of them knew the truth about me. They all arrived at the grand church on Thursday afternoon, wearing black dresses, eyes red from crying, holding flowers for the man they thought was their devoted partner. I discreetly arranged for all 5 of them to sit right in the front 2 rows, directly opposite Mark's arrogant, self-righteous family. The church was completely packed with over 100 guests, colleagues, and family members. Mark's mother sat near the front, wearing a dramatic veil and dabbing her eyes, eager to hear the glowing tribute to her perfect son. As the priest finished his opening prayer, he motioned for me to step up to the wooden podium. I walked up slowly, holding a black leather folder containing my printed speech. I adjusted the microphone, took a deep, steady breath, and looked out at the sea of expectant faces. "Thank you all for coming today to honor Mark," I began, my voice echoing clearly through the silent church. "His family asked me to stand here and speak about the man Mark truly was behind closed doors. They asked me to tell you about his character, his devotion, and the legacy he leaves behind. For years, I believed Mark was a loving, honest man who simply struggled with relationships," I continued, opening the folder. "But 6 days ago, when I unlocked his phone to organize his affairs, I discovered the absolute truth. Mark was indeed a man of incredible talent. He possessed the extraordinary ability to lead 5 completely separate lives without showing a single shred of remorse." Gasping ripples spread through the pews like a sudden wildfire. Mark's sister stood up instantly, her face red with fury, and shouted, "Nora, what the hell are you doing? Shut your mouth." But I didn't flinch. I gripped the sides of the podium, looked her straight in the eye, and said into the live microphone, "Sit down and let me finish the eulogy you ordered me to write." I looked directly at the 5 women sitting in the front rows. Sitting right here today are Sarah, Jessica, Amanda, Elena, and Rachel. Every single one of these women was told by Mark that she was his one and only girlfriend. He promised marriage to 3 of them, took money from 2 of them, and told all of them that I was just a crazy ex-wife he was stuck living with. The church exploded into total chaos. The 5 women turned to look at each other in absolute shock, realizing for the first time that they had all been lured into the exact same web of lies. Sarah stood up, tears streaming down her face, while Amanda covered her mouth in disbelief. Mark's mother began screaming at the top of her lungs, demanding that the security guards drag me off the stage. "I have printed out the text messages, the financial receipts, and the dating logs," I declared loudly over the commotion, pulling a stack of thick paper bundles from under the podium. "I have placed copies right here for anyone who wishes to see the true character of the man we are burying today. He didn't just break hearts, he used people until there was nothing left to take." Mark's daughter, Chloe, stepped up to the altar. For a second, I thought she was going to tackle me. Instead, she walked right past her furious grandmother, grabbed one of the printed stacks, read the first few pages, and looked up with tears in her eyes. She looked at me, gave a slow, solemn nod of approval, and walked out of the church, refusing to take part in her family's cover-up. The 5 women gathered together in the middle aisle, exchanging stories in hushed, angry whispers. The sadness in their eyes had completely evaporated, replaced by a shared, powerful sense of unity and outrage. They realized that none of them were at fault. They had all been preyed upon by a master manipulator who used his charm as a weapon. Mark's mother tried to rush the stage to slap me, but 2 church ushers stepped in to hold her back as guests began hurriedly walking out of the building in complete shock. The pristine, saintly reputation that his family had spent years trying to build was shattered beyond repair in less than 10 minutes. The fake funeral facade had completely collapsed. I calmly gathered my folder, stepped down from the podium, and walked past Mark's screaming relatives without saying another word. As I reached the heavy double exit doors, the 5 women followed me outside into the bright sunlight. We stood together in the church courtyard, bound by an unexpected sisterhood forged from the wreckage of the same man's deceit. Over the next few weeks, Sarah, Amanda, and I worked together to audit Mark's hidden accounts. We discovered the funds he had borrowed from them and ensured that his estate paid every single penny back before his greedy family could touch his inheritance. Chloe officially cut ties with her toxic grandmother and chose to stay in touch with me, choosing truth over blind loyalty. I moved out of that shared house, packed away the painful memories, and finally allowed myself to grieve not for the liar Mark actually was, but for the life I had lost trying to protect him. Exposing his secrets at the funeral wasn't about bitter revenge, it was about stripping away the lies and giving every single victim the closure they so rightfully deserved. What would you do if you unlocked your late partner's phone and discovered a secret double life? Would you stay silent to preserve their memory for the family, Or would you expose the truth at the funeral like Nora did? Share your honest thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more intense real-life drama stories.